You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
I get asked all the time what to do. New counselors say, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to plan next? How do I run this group? How do I teach this lesson? And I know how you feel. I mean, this profession doesn't really come with an instruction manual, and we definitely didn't learn all of this in grad school. So over the years, I've developed curriculum plans and resources to support students, and those are the things that you'll see, in my TPT store and on my blog, and that's how I'd love serving you guys. But I decided I needed something more too. I wanted to really support you guys more and build an awesome community. So that's why I created Impact, my school counselor membership program. So each month, our members receive monthly curriculum plans, ready-to-download resources, and video implementation guides. So they have everything they need to best support students and to make their counseling lives just a little bit easier. In addition, I deliver quarterly live professional development trainings. We have a fun and active Facebook group where we all hang out and collaborate and do fun giveaways and challenges. An essential resource library full of resources that you may need all year long, like a grief group or divorce discussion cards. And the best part, our community live chats. So we do Facebook Live and Zoom calls every month where we all get together, kind of like a round table, troubleshoot tough cases, pick each other's brains. It's a lot of fun. So if this sounds like something you need or something you're interested in, send me a message on Instagram at Bright Futures Counseling or head over to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/impact. Okay, let's go to the show. Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. So we're heading to the end of our anxiety series here. We've talked about, a general introduction to anxiety counseling. We talked about the difference between anxiety and anxiety disorders, some strategies you can use with students through group counseling, through class lessons. And today I want to talk about individual counseling. And, it's really powerful in that one-on-one setting and how you can help your individual kiddos who are experiencing anxiety. But remember, a little reminder for you guys to submit your counselor stories. I love hearing them. I hope you do as well. Stick around to the end of this episode to hear our counselor stories. And please submit your own counselor story. Remember, it's super casual. You can just on your phone do a little voice memo and say, oh my gosh, Rachel, you won't believe what happened today. This really cool thing happened, or this really funny thing happened, or this kind of sad thing happened, and I just need to get it off my chest. And then send it to me in that Google form, or send it to me in an email, however you want to get it to me. But the Google form is the best way. We'll link to it in the show notes. But yeah, send your counselor stories because we do love to hear them. Okay, today I have some strategies for you. I actually have 4 strategies for you when it comes to anxiety counseling with our individual students. Now, something that we can do at the individual level that is more difficult at the group level or in the class lesson level is we can just wrap around more support. So a couple things, and I talked about this when I talked about our individual counseling and our individual counseling series that we did in February on the podcast, but how you can, wrap around the student with supports by checking in with parents and teachers. So, this can be through data forms like behavior surveys, but you can also just do check-ins on how the student's acting at home in regards to their anxiety, times that they're experiencing it more than other times. Same with the teacher. Ask them at school, are there certain times of days, certain days of the week, certain triggers we're seeing. You can get a full picture here, and that's going to help you best support the student. Don't try to solo this on your own. Try to get support from parents and teachers. You can also check in with your student throughout the week. That's important to let them know that you care and you're there for them outside of that once a week 30-minute chunk that you get, So that way you can kind of do a check-in at recess, at lunch, pick up in the hallway, wherever you happen to see them. Just kind of say, hey, how's that thing going? How are you feeling today? You could even do a quick verbal rating scale with them to get a gauge of where they're at. And the other cool thing you can really do at the individual level that isn't really possible at the other levels is have the student identify the main thing that they're anxious about, because these kiddos are experiencing, pretty extreme anxiety if they're at the individual level with you, and we want to know the main thing they feel anxious about. So let's say they're anxious that they're going to get sick, right? That's a really reasonable one right now, especially with the pandemic. I'm sure a lot of kids are scared of getting sick. So if they have this anxiety about getting sick all the time, I've even heard of this actually happening where some kids don't want to take off their masks at lunch to eat their lunch because they're scared to take their masks off. So it's definitely a real worry, right? A real anxiety. So for example, if that's their anxiety, then you can refer back to that same one each week. So identify their main stressor or anxiety the first week, and then each week you can work through it and kind of refer back to it and use the strategies that you're learning specifically for that one. So as you're journaling, you can journal about that specific one and kind of see how it's changing and if their anxiety is fading at all as the sessions progress. So that's something kind of cool and individualized you can do at the one-on-one level. Okay, so for my 4 activities I have for you, first up, I kind of gave you a sneak peek, journaling. So journaling is so powerful. Turn on some music, give the kids some space to write. You can go over to your computer, give them like some physical space to set a timer and check back in. Or if they'd rather journal at home and then bring it in, they can. Your journals can be pretty visual, or they can just be freestyle, like notebook paper. I like to have my journals kind of give them a path to thinking. So I'm going to give you some examples of the journal I have here. So this journal is from my individual counseling curriculum on anxiety, and it's broken up by strategies. So each journal is like a guided writing through a strategy. So for example, one strategy is to ask the thinking brain. So they write down their worry, and like I said, this worry is likely going to stay consistent throughout their time. So let's say it's about getting sick, and then you would ask if it's their worry brain or their thinking brain saying this. And then they're going to practice using their thinking brain by changing their worry to a question. So I actually have an example, not with the sick one, but with a test. So for the example, their worry, they would write, I'm going to fail this test. The question would be, am I going to fail this test? And then they're going to answer that question using their thinking brain. Well, I prepared for the test, so I probably will do okay. Right away, they've kind of negated that worry, right? So that's a strategy. Another strategy is like, in 10 years, will it matter? Possible or probable. Gradual exposure. So getting them like warmed up to do this. Think about doing the thing. Do an example of the thing. Then act out what it would feel like if you did the thing. And then finally do the thing. Another one is having like set worry time. So setting aside a certain amount of time for them during this journal time. Write it down and then give them some time to worry about it. But have a set worry time. That way it's not interfering with their everyday. So that's an example of how like a guided journal would work. Okay, in addition to journaling, I have crafts. So I love doing crafts. Something I wish I could do more, but it is hard in the groups. They get kind of messy. You can still do some crafts in groups. And in class lessons, nearly impossible. But at the one-on-one individual level, it's a great time to do a craft because it's little cleanup and you can really give them your full attention and support. So some crafts you can make together would be a stress ball or a calm down bottle. So, and personalize them, like if they like a certain, color or a certain thing, you could put little figurines in their calm down bottle. Like if they like the color yellow and Legos, you could make it a yellow one with some little Legos floating in there. So get creative with it to make it meaningful for them, and this is something that they can take home and use, or use it perhaps at school as well. Obviously want to clear that with their teacher. The third thing, grounding exercises. So I'm going to read you some examples of grounding exercises. These are also in that individual curriculum. There's 3 I want to read to you. One is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding, rainbow grounding, and ABC grounding. So on the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, they're naming 5 things they can see, 4 things they can touch, 3 things they can hear, 2 things they can smell, and 1 thing that they can taste. So that's a way just to have them grounded and in the moment to kind of take away from their anxiety. Rainbow grounding, very similar, but instead they're using their Roy G. Biv acronym to look around for something that's the color of the rainbow. So they'll start with red. Okay, what can I see in this room that's red? What can I see in this room that's orange? And this kind of calms them down and grounds them. And then lastly, ABC grounding, same thing, but instead of colors, they're looking for letters of the alphabet. What's something that starts with A in this room? What's something that starts with B? So those are some grounding strategies they can use. If you remember in the ASCA article I read in the very first episode of this series, they recommended grounding, and those are some grounding exercises that I think are good. Deep breathing exercises. So again, any kind of breathing exercises or mindfulness strategies, really having them inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, belly breathing. Pick the one that works best for them. There's so many awesome deep breathing exercises out there. And again, that's something you want to practice when they're in that calm state. We don't want to teach them this when they're in a heightened, alerted state. We want them to learn this when they're calm so then they can implement it when they're experiencing anxiety later on, after practice, of course. Okay, guys, I hope you found those helpful as you go into your individual counseling sessions. Like I said, a few of those examples are from my individual curriculum. I'll link to it in the show notes. It's an anxiety individual curriculum that I think you'll find really helpful if you want to check it out and, get everything you need right there. It also has the data tools and stuff too. Okay, guys, I hope to hear your counselor stories, like I said, and I'll talk to you guys next week. See ya.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.